Assalamu alaikum, good evening and Shabba Khair. Welcome to episode 2 of Fine Leg. I'm going to do a long intro here today because I've got a very special guest here with me, the greatest fast bowler of 21st century. Dale Steyn is there with me. Hi, Dale.
How's it, Hassan? How are you?
I'm good. Continuing our conversation from before, we were going to have a chat about COVID and the lockdowns and everything. But it seems to me that you've suffered a lot during the last 2 weeks, have you?
Yeah, dude. I've just been lockdown hasn't been great. Firstly, I literally live on the beach, so like houses over here
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
the ocean. So I get to see the waves every single day, and yet I'm not allowed to go out and I'm not allowed to surf. So that's like torture in itself.
Yeah.
And then about 10 days ago, like when we were just starting the whole lockdown, I did something to my lower back, and like for the last week, 8 days, I haven't really been able to move. Like I've been
Oh.
like moving really gingerly and stuff like that. Um, so it hasn't been the best lockdown for me. It's been like forced relaxed mode. Not that I want to be that relaxed, but it's been fine.
Yeah. We'll recover from that. We'll recover from that. I think we're enough in the privileged position to say that. I just want to get the formalities out of the way. So, firstly, regarding a lot of people have asked me to ask you regarding your tour to Pakistan, what it was like, what that like you were here with us for I think about 20 days, about 16, 17 days, what that was like, and you're one of those rare players who's actually been to Pakistan before having been here in 2007. So what? How did you find and how different was it compared to say 13 years ago?
I mean, 13 years ago was a long time ago. I can barely remember what I enjoyed eating and doing 13 years ago, let alone like that one specific tour. But like, I what I did know is that when I got to Pakistan, like the hospitality and the people were amazing. Like I got a sense that people had genuinely missed having cricketers, international cricketers in the country, and I just felt it's not that rock star feeling that you feel when you go to like these tournaments, like World Cups or IPLs or PSLs or anything. There was a genuine feeling like people genuinely like were happy that you were there. That they were
Mm.
just happy, not even that you were playing cricket. They were just happy that you were there. You know,
Yeah.
and that was overwhelming for me because like literally everybody that I saw and I shook hands with, they were just so excited. They were just like, "Thank you for coming." And I think it just meant so much to everybody that was like the overwhelming thing for me. Like, and then when you got to the cricket side of stuff, the cricket was also brilliant. The pitches were probably like they were tough. They were tough to bowl on. I'm not gonna lie, but like, but sometimes you get those kinds of tournaments where it just doesn't kind of go the bowler's way. But all in all, like it was just an amazing feeling. And unfortunately, with the whole COVID-19 and this coronavirus, it had to kind of get cut short. But I was so looking forward to. We had one more game, and if we had won that game, if we had like, I'm not going to say not a full strength team, but a bunch of the overseas guys had gone away. You could have pushed and potentially made a final and then gone through and potentially won it because Islamabad's done so well over all of the PSLs.
Yeah.
But you know,
I
there was
mean that
just
stuff
bigger
is that
things.
stuff isn't under your control, man. Like what I've
Yeah,
realized over the past 3-4 weeks, I just wrote like a 20-page report for the end of tournament review, and going through every match, my whole thing was like, A, we didn't have the luck, and B, like a lot of stuff wasn't just under our control. But you were mentioning like the food and stuff like that, what you had even back then. You were here for 17 days. Since we couldn't take you anywhere, all we did was experiment with you on foods and stuff. So, what was the thing that you liked the most amongst that?
I loved it. I mean, we did manage to get out. I mean, you were there. We went to one or two restaurants. And the meat was incredible. It was so good. It was just so good. I was sending all my friends like videos and pictures of how the meat was literally just falling off the bone. I was taken by how good the meat was, and I had this kind of like idea in my mind that whenever you're going to go to like the subcontinent, whether you're going to like Bangladesh or India or Sri Lanka and Pakistan, you're going to have a lot of curry. But like I actually didn't have a lot of curry. I ate a lot of meats, and I was taken away by how good it was. It was it was amazing.
Yeah, that's one thing we do really well. And regarding the diet, so this is something like I think of myself as a connoisseur of cricket, someone who's sort of like follows up on everyone and everything, sort of knows players and stuff like that. But even then, until like 12 months ago, this is for the viewers more than Dale here, I always was under the assumption that cricketers and elite athletes are some sort of machines and stuff like that. But what I've come to realize, especially over the past 18 months, is that there are freaks amongst us. So Dale, so there's this whole thing when Mickey Arthur came to Pakistan, then when Misbah joined the Pakistan team. There's this whole thing of having a diet and not having any soft drinks, not having any negative foodstuffs and stuff like that. So Dale, can you tell the audience what your normal everyday diet is like?
It is, dude. It's bad. Hey, it's bad. Like I just asked my girlfriend. I was like, "Listen, I'm doing this interview. Can you please just pour me a glass of Coke?" And she was like, "Yeah, no problem." How long is it? And that's what I asked you. How long is the interview? And she's like, I said, "It's gonna be 25 minutes." And she's like, "All right, cool." So this is what she gave me because this is pretty much my diet. Like there's a full glass right there. And she was like, "I know you're gonna finish that. Here's some more." So like, yeah,
I don't understand that. Like my whole life and with everyone in sports, all I've heard is like how bad soft drinks are for you. And I remember the first or second day that you arrived, I remember the the hotel staff going into your room with like a bucket full of just Coke cans, and I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, Rob Walter used to be my trainer. He was with the Titans, and then he moved up to South Africa, and he's coaching in New Zealand at the moment. And he once said it to me. He was just like, you get these freaks, and I was like, what? Are you calling me a freak? And he's like, dude, if somebody else drank the amount of Coke and sugar that you drink, like they would just like blow up completely. But like, secondly, like you just wouldn't be able to control like your spikes of like sugar rushes and all that. And somehow I don't know, I'm not an advocate for it. I'm not sitting here saying that everybody should do it. I'm just saying that like I've somehow managed to pull it off. I don't know how.
I think the only reason is that you are a freak. We were discussing AB that day at Karachi, how he was a freak. And afterwards, I was talking to Ingram about you. And he was saying that he talks about AB, he's some sort of, unique specimen, whereas Dale is as much of a freak as AB ever was.
Yeah, because I can drink so much Coke. Maybe that's why. But like, De Villiers, like we had that conversation. Like AB is just somebody that is just like he's a freak in like what he can do and everything like that. And I think almost kind of made easier by the way that people like approach playing against him. Like there's this definite mindset, like we were talking about. There's this definite mindset in bowlers that when they're bowling to him, there's not this "I'm going to get you out" mentality. There's more of a mentality of like, if he gets one or gets off strike, I'm happier. Then I'm happy. Whereas most people, when a new batter walks in, you feel like, oh, I've got a chance, I'm going to get him out. So AB, he's got that edge over players too, and it's created by just how good he is. I mean, firstly, he's amazing to be able to change bowlers' mindsets and the way that they think about how they're going to approach bowling to him. But I mean, he's a freak. Like, let's be honest. Like, he's a joke.
Yeah, and so are you. Like I think you sort of underplay yourself, and I'm pretty sure that batsmen suffered through that sort of mentality against you as well. So that's the other thing that a lot of people have asked me this specific topic. I want to talk to you about Muhammad Hafeez. I'm sure you've had a lot of conversations, a lot of people commenting on that, tweets and stuff like that. But like, what is that feeling like? I know people sort of see him as sort of your bunny, but there's still a part of you that I'm sure respects him as like a top tier player, right?
Oh, absolutely. I genuinely think he is an amazing batter. Like he's got all the skill. He's proven it. That's why he's played for Pakistan for as many years as he has. That's why he's still playing today. You know, and the thing is that when I'm going to come up against him because I'm an opening bowler, most of the time he's opening the batting.
Mm,
So it's always going to be like new ball versus new batter. And
mm,
I would say the most difficult time to bat is definitely with the new ball, you know, especially in Test match cricket, especially with Test match cricket. Like there's a defensive mode going when it comes to batting. You want to see
mm.
out the new ball, unless you're somebody like David Warner who just takes it on from ball one. There's very few batters that bat like that. But you know, there's a defensive mindset in the sense that I'm going to see through this ball, and I've always found that when batsmen allow me to bowl to them, I stand a bigger chance at getting them out. Um, you know, and Hafeez was just one of those guys who was just unlucky that I think he went through a period where he felt like he was trying to be defensive and he got out, and then he went through a period where he thought, okay, well, defense is not working, so I'm going to try and be a little bit more attacking, and that didn't work, you know, and got out like that too, and then it just scrambles the brain a little bit in the sense of like, what is my mindset? How am I going to combat this? Um, Throw in the pressures from the public and media, and everyone's starting to make a deal out of it, and all of a sudden it is a recipe for disaster, you know. And unfortunately, you know, unfortunately for me, I got him out a bunch of times, you know.
Yeah. Can you feel that you were mentioning like the pressure and like someone having a scrambled brains? If you're bowling to someone, can you feel that someone isn't like completely relaxed or has a scrambled brain at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I get a sense of their body language and then the way that they're starting to play. You know, I might bowl a bad ball, and instead of being hit for four, he might leave it. You know, and then that's when I just got to say to him, listen, that was your one opportunity at getting a boundary or getting off strike. You know, and I found that sometimes, like he would have the better of me for a period of like 5 or 6 overs. And then
Mm.
as I was about to get taken out of the attack, I don't know why, with like maybe one or two balls left, he would play a rash shot and get out, you know? And he's gone through all the
Yeah.
hard work of 5 overs, and then all of a sudden a bad ball and he's nicked it and he's gotten out, you know? Yeah.
Hafiz playing a rash shot after being dominant. I don't think that's exclusive to you. I think a lot of Pakistan fans have those complaints about him. But
Yeah.
anyway, uh, going beyond that, I mean, you were here for the PSL. You were here for like 3 weeks. Was there anyone that you hadn't seen before that you thought was like different gravy? Essentially, it's any young guy coming through, or anyone that you'd seen before but you didn't realize was as good as you he appeared to be during the PSL.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I feel like I've got a bit of a scrambled brain right now, you know? But I thought Shetty was amazing. You know, like I'd spent a bit of time playing against him when Pakistan toured South Africa, and he, he, because of the way that Ulifir had bowled, he'd kind of blown everyone away. He didn't really give many guys an opportunity, barring maybe Baba, who got some runs. But I was blown away by Shetty, um, with his leadership, what he could do with the ball, actually, surprisingly, like amazingly good with the ball,
Mm.
and then from a batting point of view, like such a good thinker, you know, knew when to take it on, knew how to take it on, knew the opposition really well, and I was like, that's the kind of thing that I enjoy in a captain. Um,
Mm.
and he was an aggressive captain too, which was really nice. I mean, he would be standing at middle for mid on, and he'd come to me, and he would really have this aggressive mindset. Like he was like, I want to take wickets. You know, even though the pitches are flat, he'd rather go with the risk-taking option, which was great. And I think Mispa was also leading that too. So Shetty was somebody that just like he stood out for me in the competition. You know.
Okay. And you just mentioned Mispan, and that's one another thing that I sort of like didn't know about you before this. Like a lot of cricketers that I've had, Mispa aside, don't really have that the sort of memory or the recall that guys usually do. They'll probably remember their last game or like last tournament, but like if you ask them about 2 years ago, they won't remember it because over here it's almost taught like you have to forget what happened before because that's the only way for you to move on. And yet I remember that night when you and Misbah were in my room, and you just went through pretty much every single match that Pakistan, that both of you had played against each other, like match by match, ball by ball. So is that like a thing that you've developed, or have you always had that?
I'm pretty. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm pretty shit, actually, to be honest with you. But Misbah was amazing. He's got this memory that he can just literally remember everything. Moments and small moments in the game. And it was interesting because whilst we were chatting and he was talking, he was starting to refresh my memory, and he was starting to remind me of things that I had kind of I'd kind of forgotten about. And then I was sitting there and I was going, oh yes, now I remember the scenario. I remember the feeling of being in that situation. I remember the pressure that was going on, and I mean, it was really led by Misbah. And then remembering things that, like, I guess if I
But
was just
I
left
mean,
to my own device.
you're underrating yourself, because even when I asked you about Karachi when we were at the National Stadium discussing your fifer from the last time around, and you still remember like how you had set up Yunus to get him out, how Paul Harris had gotten another wicket, which is, I'm telling you, that is not like a very normal thing amongst cricketers to remember what your fifer from 13 years ago.
Well, Paul Harris likes to remind me all the time that he got a fifer in Karachi too. So, like, he doesn't let me forget about it. So anytime I speak to him, and when I was in Karachi and he saw that I was in Karachi, he was like, go there. And when we went down to the honors board, I took a picture, I sent it to him. I was like, can you remember this? And then we were chatting. He phoned me later that night and he was just rapping off things. And he had a little bit of a limited test career, like compared to what, say, AB, Mornay, myself, Hashim had. So his memory of what's happened is very, very, very imprinted in his mind, because he just lived every second, especially only being really a test player. So that conversation was really cool. He just reminded me of so much of that tour 13 years ago.
Yeah. So you mentioned like having short careers compared to long careers. You have like 439 test wickets. So is there any one of them that you sort of like? I'm sure you probably remember like 300 of them. You're probably not like McGrath, but considering what the time that I spent with you, I would wager the over under would be something like 300 that you'd remember. But is there any one in particular that you are reminded of over and over again, or just when you're sitting alone, you just love that?
Look, I can't get away from the Michael Vaughan wicket in my first test match. It's near impossible for me to get away from that. Everybody, anytime I bowl half a decent ball, everyone's like, "Oh, it's the Michael Vaughan ball," and it happened. I think it was my third wicket, in my debut test. So I guess everyone was going to kind of remember, like, from that point on, they were just going to be like, they were going to compare every dismissal to that particular dismissal. So I think that's the one that I'm almost like most well known for. Kind of like Shane Warne's gapping
like,
delivery,
Yeah, that's almost
even though
like
it's not
that's
as
the
good.
perfect fast bowler's ball, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think somebody like Vaughan, though, I was lucky that I was bowling to him at that particular time, because again, I think him with guys like Mohammad Hafeez, and there's a handful of other batters that I felt like I could bowl to them, and I enjoyed bowling to them because of the way that they batted, where they stood, their setup, where they were looking to hit the ball. They looked to hit the ball, can't even talk right now, but they looked to try and hit the ball down the ground.
Yeah.
Let's save that. I got a bit of a tongue twister. And I found that when the ball did have a little bit of movement, either left or right off the deck, I could always beat them on the inside edge, get them out LBW, bowled through the gate, or I could nick them off or beat them on the outside edge and bowl them, much like I did with Vaughan, because they didn't really use their feet a lot. They waited for the ball to come to them. So yeah, like, I did enjoy bowling to batters like that. Whereas other guys, maybe like Warner, Steve Smith, who move around the crease a lot, Chris Gale, who will take it to you, they can put you under pressure in other ways. So I always found those guys the guys that I enjoyed bowling to.
Yeah, it's almost like guys who are like orthodox technique. That sort of guys have always been like, because your bowling is ideally suited to combat that. So And regarding that, I wanted to ask you, like, one serious question before we get into the quick fire thing. If there's one thing that you tell like young bowlers or anyone, any youngster who's watching this, what would that be? Like one lesson that you would always impart, like over 20 years of cricket, whether that's with the way you bowl or with the mindset that you have. Is there one thing in particular that you've seen is like universal with all great bowlers?
I think when it comes down to raw, I think raw pace is something that it can't be taught. It's very rare to. I can take somebody and put on a couple Ks, just by tinkering with their action and changing things and making things more consistent. But it's not something that you can teach. You can't take anybody and just make them bowl 150 kilometers an hour. As an example, you look at myself and AB and maybe Faf, for example. We all have a very similar body shape. We're all roughly the same height. We weigh exactly the same. However, those two together could never bowl 150 kilometers an hour if you added their speed together. So the thing is that like raw pace and extreme pace is just something that almost cannot be taught. It's a gift that you're born with. And what I would like to say is that if there is somebody out there that's got extremely raw pace, is to don't worry about the other things like landing the ball in the right area, and that's like keep bowling fast. We will figure out ways to narrow it down and get your line and your length and your consistency better, but never ever ever sacrifice your gift, which is extreme pace, for something else. So that's all I would say, is that if there are guys out there in Pakistan, in South Africa, in anywhere in the world, if you bowl fast, boys, bowl fast.
Yeah. Okay. I think your dog agrees with you on that as well. But one other thing, like you remember, you talk about pace, like that. We had this phrase here of like pace is pace, and we had this discussion of about how Pakistanis love their fast bowlers more than any batsman or spinner or anything like that. So I was just going through that, like, so the requirements that we have are like you need to have extreme pace, you need to be extremely skillful. The only guy who got through without extreme pace was Asif. You need to have this sort of like ego, and you need to take everything as a challenge, and you need to be really aggressive, and you always had that. The one thing that you didn't have, which I saw in, I think you had tweet or Insta yesterday as well, which I wanted to talk to you about. You've played for what, 16, 17 years. Why did you never have a rock star haircut?
Oh no, I know. Like, when I was 19 and I first moved to Pretoria and I started playing, I was in the Titans Academy. I had long hair, like hair up to my like shoulders, like really long.
As a fast bowler should.
Yeah, I think so. And I got the nickname Sunshine from this movie, Remember the Titans.
Everyone
was calling me Sunshine, Sunshine, Sunshine. And then for some weird reason, they said, okay, no, you have to cut your hair. You need to cut your hair. You need to be clean shaven. And, we had these kind of like set rules at which we had to kind of like almost like discipline rules, and I feel like it took away a little bit of the individual, which is fine because I think rules are important. It's, like having clean boots and clean clothing and all that kind of stuff. But, cricket's a strange game. As I've played for as many years as I have, the best stories I've got are about the individual characters that there are. Paul Harris playing with the same shirt for 5 days in a row because he felt like it was a lucky shirt. I sat next to him. That shirt's stank. He was like, and Harrow's a clean guy. Like he's a very, very clean guy. But when he was superstitious in the fact that he wanted to play with the same shirt, and if it had a big cheeseburger stain on it, he didn't care. He was playing with that same shirt. And like you can never take like the individual out of that kind of space. So unfortunately, when I was like 19, cut my hair really short, like shaved and everything like it, and then went to Korea where I had some of the worst hairstyles you'll ever see. So now I'm getting there now, but it's almost too late,
Yeah, no, you can make up for it. But that was one of the things, like, because if you look at like the last 40 years of Pakistan cricket, even when we haven't had the greatest fast bowlers, they've always had great hair.
They've had amazing hair. You know, even
But
Asif's
yeah,
hair was just beautiful. I saw KP
I
posted
mean,
something today where he nicked him off on Twitter, and he had
yeah,
just beautiful, great hair. You know.
yeah, because as I mentioned to you in Karachi, like the fast bowler is supposed to be the rock star, and I feel like that's the thing that you were mentioning about like disciplining fast bowlers. That sort of shows the difference between Pakistan and South Africa. Like in Pakistan, if someone tries to do that, they're like, yeah, you can do that to the batsman or the spinner or the wicketkeeper. You can't do that to the fast bowler. But anyway, we've had a good chat, but we'll end up with like a few clickbait type quick fire questions.
Yeah.
So just like one word answer and stuff like that. One word, one sentence. Uh, who's the best batsman you faced? One name. I don't want a list because that is the diplomatic answer. But who's the best? Well, if not the best, then the most difficult batsman that you faced.
I'm gonna go with De Villiers,
Okay.
and I've only ever played 2020 against him, so
Hmm.
I'm going with him. Yeah, he gives you
I
sleepless nights. That man.
yeah, I can imagine. And what's the one spell that you mentioned the Vaughan wicket, but what's the one spell that you always remember that you are the fondest of? I'll give you my answer to yours in a bit, but go ahead.
Um, I think my best game ever was at the MCG. I took 10 and I scored 70 with a bat. So
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna say that is the one game that I guess I'll always remember. You know.
Hmm. Yeah, but my answer would have been Nagpur because, like, for every English, South African, New Zealand, Australian fast bowlers, all Asians have this mindset that yeah, they're good in their conditions, but once they come here, they won't survive. Like there's a whole cadre of Pakistani fandom that still doesn't rate Vernon Philander because it's like he's never run through someone in Asia, for instance. With
Yeah.
you, like you had the fifer in Sri Lanka, you had the fifer in Pakistan, but it was really the Nagpur game that to pretty much to everyone who was watching cricket showed them that this guy is like different gravy, as I mentioned earlier. So what do you
Yeah.
remember from that?
Well, you know what? What I do remember is actually we played in Nagpur. I got 7, and then here's a funny story though, is that then India came to South Africa on their next tour, I think it was, and we were in South Africa and we were in Durban. First test match was a draw, and the second test match we're playing in Durban, and the wicket's flat, and Rohit Sharma comes out to bat. First innings I was bowling to him, and the ball was just reversing a little bit, and he left the ball, shouldered arms, stumps all over the place. Second innings
Hmm.
he comes out to bat, and he got a little bit like lippy with me, and I remember saying something to him because I also scored runs in the first innings, and I remember saying like, you know, I'm averaging more with the bat than you averaging in this test series, you know. And then I remember him turning around and saying to me, well, you need to come and prove yourself in India before you can abuse me. And then Vernon was standing in mid-on and went up to him and was like, dude, the last time he played in India, he got 7. Like, what are you on about? So it was a moment that I'll always remember. And I love playing against Rohit. He's such a good competitor. You know, he's one of the modern day competitors. And I think that's why I enjoy playing against him. But it was a funny
And
moment, you know.
that's how cricket should be. Like I see a lot of people talk about like that it's gentleman game or stuff like that. I like a game when it gets trippy, when it gets like lippy and a little there's a
Absolutely.
needed
No,
there's some
absolutely.
needed.
Absolutely has to be. You know, that has to be. You know, you talk about this line. I didn't give a shit about the line, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you want to have competitiveness. You know, there needs to be some competitiveness. You know, like that's why people pay money. Otherwise, like, go and watch snooker or something. You know, or chess. Like,
Yeah.
come on. You know.
Okay. And to finish off, sorry, it took a bit long. Who's the best captain that you played under?
Um, Graham is going to go down as the best captain that I played under. I
Of
took
course.
the bulk of my wickets under Graham. He was brilliant in the sense like that he knew when to bring me on. He knew when to stop me and hold me, especially if I got quite excited and started to get a little bit worked up, like we were talking about. He knew that I probably wouldn't bowl as well if I was bowling with that aggressive mindset. So you know, he was just the best. I thought that he was the best. But like excuse me, but like modern day captains, I think are really good, especially in the short formats. I enjoyed Glenn Maxwell when I was in Australia.
Mhm.
I thoroughly enjoy Quinny de Kock. He's brilliant. He's a cricket mad. He's so smart about the game and aware of what's going on. Um, and I think that there's a couple captains that are starting to catch on to that particular way of captaining right now. It's a
Mm.
hard thing to describe. It's a feeling that whilst you're on the field, you can feel it, especially as a bowler. You've got to have a good kind of connection with your captain and a good relationship. And there's a couple captains that I'm starting to play under now. Even Virat, I enjoyed it when he was at RCB. Very aggressive, intent in taking the game by the scruff of the neck. Kind of like the way that I guess I bowl. So yeah, but
Okay.
Graham is going to go
Yeah.
down as my favorite.
Okay. To finish off, I've taken like 5 minutes too many from you, but I mean, neither of us have got much to do with the lockdown right now.
That's not a
So
problem.
yeah. So to finish off, like a couple of things. Firstly, for everyone watching, like I'm assuming that the majority of people watching are Pakistani. So any one incident of playing in or playing against Pakistan that you remember, or which is funny, or anything like that.
Um, wow. I remember a night like one that stands out for me was a personal game is where I took 6 for 8 at the Wanderers
Yeah, I
against
remember
Pakistan. That was quite something. So yeah, I mean that was a good game. And then there was one Misbah and myself were talking about where probably South Africa should have lost in Sharjah where we won.
Charger.
And yeah, and there was one in Abu Dhabi where I took 5 wickets, and Misbah was one of them actually,
Okay.
where we should have lost. So those are 3 standout games for me that I can remember playing against Pakistan. I've always enjoyed playing against Pakistan. And I have to pinch myself that I got somebody like Imzimam Ul Haq out, Like I remember nicking him off in Cape Town a very long time ago, like 2008 or something silly, like or 2009 or whatever.
Cape Town should be end of 2006, 2007, I think.
Yeah, a very, very, very long time ago. And the strange thing is, I can remember him being run out by Jonty Rhodes in 1992. So like, that's a cool thing for me. Like, like it wasn't a great wicket. It wasn't, he kind of flashed at one outside off and he nicked it and I got him out, and that's cool. But like, it stands out for me that I managed to play against him and I got him out at some point in time. That's like, it's cool.
Yeah, that's the thing that I find most interesting with, like, once you start playing against your hero, because like when Babar went after you in the South Africa's in the tour last year, like he attacked you whenever you came on, and I was chatting to him later and he was saying that basically it was just this guy who, since he was like 8 years old, he was the best fast bowler in the world, so he wanted to just challenge himself and wanted to go after it. So it's like the baton is just passing on from Inzi to you to now Babar.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, I love the fact that like Baba like came out and he played with that aggressive mindset. Like, I know that I probably bowled him like 5 half volleys in a row to give him that opportunity to get like that momentum. I remember bowling at Supersport Park and feeling like there's a chance here I can nick him off, and probably just underestimating like his ability. And he had a couple of good straight drives, like on drives that went down the ground. And then I thought, okay, I'll throw it a little bit wider outside off, maybe outside his eye line, get it full again, and maybe he'll nick it off this time. And he was able to get over that. And, it's great that, like, he's gone on now to make 1 billion runs since then, because he's used that as like a stepping stone to say that he can play at the highest level, because he's taken down like a bowler that in his eyes was one of the best, and that's awesome, because that's what I try and do with other players. I try and get some of the best names out in the world so that I can say, this is actually where I belong to play at this level. So it's nice that there's a cat and mouse game between everyone, really, and yet the next time that we play against each other, we start at 0 all over again. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. let's go, but it's nice that he's been able to like go on and do so well for himself, like from that those small like victories that he had, that's cool. I like being part of that, it's nice to be a part of that.
And to finish off, like
now my
I
dogs
sent
are
you that
barking
article. Yeah, I think they also know that we are going overtime, so maybe they're complaining regarding that. But
No,
to
it's all
finish
cool.
off, yeah, the link that I sent you, you posted it up on Twitter as well. Your T20 numbers, like that's the one thing that I'm fascinated by. That you've always like. I was looking up at videos from like 2006, 2007 of you, and you had a very different action and a very different style. So how do you keep reinventing yourself? Because we've seen a lot of like young players come in, have 1 or 2 good years, and then just fall by the wayside. Not just Pakistan, throughout the world. I'm sure you've seen that in South Africa as well. But for somebody like you, you've been doing the same thing for 15 years, and now for like 3-4 years, people questioned whether you were an elite T20 bowler, and suddenly, like in 18 months, you've become the best T20 bowler in the world. So how do you keep reinventing yourself that way?
Sorry, I just got dogs are going wild over here. I like from an action point of view, I think your action is always gonna change with how you feel, and how your body is. Sometimes you feel good and you can run in a little bit faster. Other times you get a little bit older and you start to feel a little bit stiffer. It's a little bit difficult. So, having a good action though definitely helps with that. But I think from becoming like a good 2020 player was all about like a change of mindset. I just decided that I needed to be more aggressive with my mindset. And that was all aided by the fact that when I broke my shoulder, I thought to myself, I might never bowl another ball in my life again. And like, if I have to bowl one more ball in my life, I'm not going to bowl a ball in a defensive manner. I'm not going to bowl to stop somebody from hitting me for 6 or for 4. I'm going to bowl because I want to get that guy out. Like, I'm going to get everybody out with every ball that I bowl.
You can swear if you want to, by the way.
Oh, cool. Well, I almost want to because I'm quite passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that would be my mindset from now on. I always had all the skills. I know that I can bowl a Yorker at will. I know that I can bowl a bouncer. I know that I can bowl a length ball. It was now about packaging it a little bit more differently and taking a little bit more of a risk. And I thought, well, I don't mind going at 8.5 runs and over. As long as I'm taking 2 wickets or 3 wickets a game, that's fine. Because I'd looked at my numbers and I was like, you're doing good, boy. Well done. You're going at 6.5 runs and over, but you're not striking as much as I would like to be striking. I strike enough, but I want to strike more, So I was like, well, fuck the runs. Like, if I can get more wickets, that's what's important. So I figured that I'd try take a few more risks, bowl a couple more wicket-taking options. And it probably worked out at the best time because after playing for as long as I've played, there is an algorithm in which people have worked out that I bowl. And batsmen know, okay, he's going to run and his first ball is going to be a gentle away shape. See if it swings. Let's try and nick a guy off. And I thought, fuck that. I'm going to run in. I'm going to bowl a guy a Yorker first ball. I'm going to change that up. I'm really going to change that whole way of doing things completely up and see if that works. And in the MSL, I got a lot of wickets. And strangely enough, I didn't go for more runs than I normally go for. I went probably a smidgen more, still under 7 runs and over.
Yeah.
And yet I picked up more wickets. So I was like, well, if I can do this at this competition, then I'm going to do it at the next one. So I just carried on like that.
I hope, like, obviously we still have to make that decision. I hope you're able to do that with us next year as well, depending on your availability and everything else. And so best of luck with that. Best of luck with the World T20 as well, if it ever takes place. I've taken 10 minutes too many from you. It was a pleasure talking to you, man.
No, it's epic. I dig it, Hassan. Anytime, bro. Anytime. I'm here for another 17 days.
Yeah, if I don't get any sponsors, I might get you back on air because you're the one who's gonna get me all the hits.
Anytime, bro. Anytime.
All right, see you, man. Nice talking.
Okay, Hassan. I'll catch you later, dude. Cheers,
Cheers.
Bye.